Hey, what's up, everyone? This is David Greenspan, and you are listening to Season 4 of the Mindshare Podcast. Additional podcasts are available at mindshare101.com and on all the major podcast platforms. This week's episode is sponsored by Kits Keep in Touch Systems and the Buzz Conference. Now, again, the Buzz has two dates that you want to mark down right now if you didn't do this last week. The first one is June 24th. Now, this is a philanthropic initiative with a goal to raise $1 million over the next 5 years to support indigenous communities. The next one, which is happening in September, is called Disruption 2022. Again, taking place September 7th through 8th. Both of these events are going to be located at the Liberty Grand in Toronto, Canada. Be sure to follow The Buzz on Instagram at The Buzz Conference. Give them a visit at www.thebuzzconference.com and keep tabs with everything they are up to. Again, we are always proud to have The Buzz as an ongoing sponsor of the Mindshare podcast. Thank you, Buzz Conference. Kits is also with us today as a sponsor, and as always, I have to tell you that our team keeps coming up with new ways of making, well, your marketing even that much more effective. A fully loaded marketing suite. Again, if you haven't checked out what Kits has to offer yet, you really need to do so. When we talk about the 7 different ways to communicate, we talk about building mindshare, we talk about how mindshare equals market share. Kits takes on all of the tools that you need in your business to run your real estate business. CRM, marketing tools, calendar, contact list, systems, and processes. It is loaded. You need to check it out. Again, if you haven't done so yet, connect with my team at Kits. You can go right to my website, mindshare101.com, and just click on marketing up at the top. We'll get you a demo. We'll set you up. We'll talk about all the things that are there. My team is awesome. The system is awesome. It is totally powerful, and well, it's going to net you a ton of ROI. So again, mindshare equals market share. Check in with Kits. And of course, as you know, as we always are, we are on a push to get to 100 reviews on iTunes. And so I'd like to ask you, if you haven't yet, and I mean, if you're a regular listener and you haven't yet, why haven't you yet? Just having some fun here. But please go over to ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. Take 2 minutes. Just give us a quick review. Nice little rating. We'd be very, very grateful for that. Today's episode is number 182. A technical wizard, he has been in sales for over 25 years and in real estate since 2005. He puts everything together using technology and is able to put in perspective for both the realtor and the client. He takes everything to the next level. In his role, he is focused on helping his realtors find their next level of success. He is a new school thinker with an old school mentality and believes that no matter the tools we now have available to us, this is and always will be a people business built on relationships. A partner at Centur 21 Heritage Group in Toronto. Joining me on this episode of the Mindshare Podcast today is Eryn Richardson. Eryn, welcome to the Mindshare Podcast.
How are you? Love to be on here. This is great. First time.
Yeah, absolutely, bud. It's a blast having you, man. I mean, listen, you know what? Probably long overdue. We have a ton of awesome and very powerful conversations every time we get together talking about marketing and all sorts of stuff. And I think that it's about time that we share some of that love with everybody and start involving them in the conversation.
Thank you for that intro too. I really appreciate it. If you could send me that, that'd be amazing. I can do that on my website. That's really good.
Well, we will be syndicating on Friday to all the major podcast platforms. So you'll be able to hear it a whole bunch. But man, it's a crazy market over the past couple of years, you know, and we are beginning to see a shift. And the more people that I speak to, the more we're starting to see, you know, there's variations of markets that are taking place, you know, be it central core, north of the core, different parts of the country, you know. But I got to preface this and say to everybody, and I'm sure we could agree on this. It's not a bad market. It's that, like, I personally believe it's an incredibly healthy market. And you know, although properties aren't selling in the same frenzied pace as they did over the past 24 months, one of the fallouts of this is that, you know, the level of effort is going to need to go up if we want to have any more success, right? And this includes everything from negotiating, marketing, which we know are two of sort of the biggest roles that we play in the entire transaction. But it also means that realtors are going to be looking for some Band-Aid fixes and some like real quick, like, you know, hoping for the best, you know. And then we've got the ones who are like, you know, maybe a little bit more seasoned. They're going to keep doing what they know already works. So that's what I want to kind of get into here is like, you know, the biggest time wasters in real estate, but, you know, talking about what does work, what doesn't work when it comes to having success as a realtor. And where should people be spending their time? And again, the time wasters, as we said, but where should they be spending their dollars? Mm-hmm. So we've got this false sense of confidence around where the business comes from. And as mentioned off the top, as a new school thinker with an old school mentality, which I say with love because I like to believe that I'm right there in that same boat with you. But we need to embrace technology for sure. And I want to jump off that because I know you love the tech. Where are agents making the absolute biggest mistakes when it comes to selecting and implementing the right tools, and why are they making these mistakes constantly?
You're jumping as an agent, you're jumping into things that hopefully you see, other people working for other people. And when you're on social media and you're seeing all the technology that's out there, the videos and the social interaction, but they're doing it online. So it's a shift in the way people are thinking from a marketing standpoint. And I think people always jump onto what is easier rather than what is maybe different, or the hard stuff is the stuff that works and the easy stuff is, they keep spinning their wheels. And from a technology standpoint, social media could be a time waster. And I'm not saying that it's not effective. Again, knowing that technology is important and social is what you want. I think one of the biggest time wasters can be the computer. I mean, you're not really putting yourself face to face as much as you should.
Now, is that wrapping up when we say computer? Does that include this thing? This
sure does.
Phone?
I mean,
so just the screens.
It's the screens, right? It's what we preach to our kids. I've got 2 young children. We always, minimize the screen time, and then we see ourselves looking at the screen every 5 minutes as well. So it's a balancing act. Don't go down that rabbit hole of, I need to be tech. I need to be online. I need to be doing the things like online leads. Everybody talks about online leads and all this sort of stuff. I've done it. I've been there. It was a hobby for me, but you never have to lose. You can never lose the mindset of the relationship building and getting in front of as many people as possible. Quality relationships.
I'm going to circle back to that online lead conversation in a minute or two, because that's one that I want to have here. But again, as you talk about tech or we talk about the fact that you love the tech, and I know that, mm-hmm. And you're super great with it. Mm-hmm. You're like the first one going like back off the screen time, mm-hmm. right? Which is an important thing for people to understand, because I think that as technology become more prevalent, people have done what they can to learn and understand, mm-hmm. how do I implement, and some are quicker than others. Obviously, that means that some are much slower than others. But I think the overall point that I'm going to is through that progression of trying to learn it all, it's almost like we've become so glued to it and thinking that I've got to do everything through this screen that we've lost out on where the business actually comes from. And in fact, to that, where does, and regardless of the technology, where does an agent's business come from? Is it people they know or people they don't know?
Listen, you can talk to any coach in the business. You can talk to any, you go to any seminar, any big event. I mean, listen, anyone that knows the business says the same stat. And it's either 80, 84, 87. It's somewhere in that 80 range.
I just go 70 to 90 because right. What? It's big range. You got 20%, but we know that it's way more than half.
Sure. And that's through the people It's always easier to do business through people that you've already built a relationship with you, or that has transacted and done business with you. So your repeat referral business is foundationally where you should be spending most of your time and most of your effort. There are technology systems out there that can help with that. But if it's a time waster, if it's one of those technology systems that's broken, it doesn't fit within your model, you'll be spending a lot of time trying to make it fit, and it just doesn't fit. So I'm passionate about technology. I'm actually more passionate about technology that doesn't work as much as technology that does work, because you got to
explain that one to me for a second.
There's a lot of systems within our business that is sometimes forced upon us, even like whether it be MLS systems, whether it be CRM systems, it could be transactional systems, that whether or not it's something that the brokerage uses or something that the board uses. And some of these systems are difficult to use. And some of them, I love joining committees and getting involved so that, that button shouldn't be here. It takes me an extra 5 minutes to get there when it shouldn't have to. So let's get that fixed. Let's join in, let's talk about it, and let's get it fixed. So that's why I like getting involved in some technology systems that maybe aren't perfect, but if we can involve ourselves in that conversation and get those things shifted, it makes our jobs a lot easier. So I enjoy that.
To something you just said there about, we get these things maybe pushed upon us or they're introduced to us, and sometimes we don't really know why we're using it. And I think there's a lot of tech that's been introduced to agents over the years that say, oh, this is going to do this. Oh, that's going to do that. And if I said this, and I think I've personally gotten to this point, I think a lot of people got to this point, but you need a username and password for all of it. Now, to that, there's some folks that might just say, just use the same one and everything will be easy. Well, I'd say that is the most broken idea you've got, because security, which we know in cyberspace is almost non-existent. Yeah, you definitely don't want to be using the same login information for every single thing. And I'll tell you, I must have hundreds of different usernames and passwords for the hundreds of different things that I've signed up to over the years. And it's a pain in the butt to remember anything. Now you sit there and go, okay, I'm going to take on this next application, technology tool. I now need to learn how to use that. I need to remember how to log into that. I got to figure out how I'm going to connect that to the other system I'm using. I mean, hell, Google tries to make that stuff simple and they still complicate the what out of it, right? Sometimes you don't know if I'm changing this or if I'm changing. Anyways.
The best thing that's come out for that topic is biometrics, right? When you look at your phone and it logs you in, that's the best system, right? It's verifying through your face.
Yeah.
Right. So and Steve Jobs, and I don't know his quote. I'm horrible with quotes, but I'll give you the gist, right? He once said that basically, listen, let's find out what the user wants and needs, then make the technology fit that need, rather than the other way around, which a lot of tech companies do. They go and what's the technology? Oh, here's the technology. This is how we're going to make it work for the user. You can't think that way, right?
Yeah.
So it's apparent right away from just logging in, like you said, to systems, to whether or not that company or that piece of technology understands that.
And I would say to that, and being having a technology company through kits and building out a CRM, I would tell you that we built that out with Loop CRM very much off the heels of by realtors for realtors, with that exactly in mind. And I'll tell you here, we feel real confident about the system. We get some amazing, amazing feedback. That said, is it 100% bulletproof? There's not a 100% bulletproof technology tool out there. There's going to be people that understand certain things. There's going to be people that don't understand certain things. There's going to be certain features that you do use and others that you don't use. And I think that it really wraps back to, it's a good point there of, is it being built for, the person to make their life easier, or is it being built in a way where it's like, hey, this is what we got, try to figure out how to make it work, but I mean, to that, yeah, sorry.
No, I 100% agree. Some of the best CRMs in the business, the ones that do everything for you, or at least they say they do everything for you, are the ones I stay away from because they're too involved. It involves me having to spend hours upon hours, first of all, learning it. Then second of all, I'm telling it what to do. A lot of times it's trying to tell me what to do. It doesn't fit within my day.
Yeah.
So it's, it just doesn't mesh well. The simplest systems sometimes are the best systems.
Absolutely right. I mean, it just makes it easy to implement and get it done. And I think that most of the stuff that's offered in so many different tech spaces, you don't use it all, right? You find what works for you. But what are some of the biggest misconceptions that realtors have about not just tech, but the business overall?
Well, misconceptions. The biggest one we deal with on a daily, because again, I manage and run a brokerage. The agents are always coming, and I don't think it's ever changed, right? Looking back at some of the sales movies that I've seen since the 70s, right? Leads. Give me the leads. Give me the lead. Where are the leads, right? And it's, maybe this is a transition to the topic online leads. I don't know, but let's be honest. I mean, if it's easier to get somebody calling you looking for a house, why not, right? And I guess most of the agents are looking for that magic potion that they can, sit back and have the leads come in, or have somebody provide the leads for you, or pay for the leads to come your way. So I guess that's the biggest rabbit hole people are going down. And many people are leveraging that, not only the lead generation companies, but the team concept. They're leveraging these systems that they know that all the agents want and saying, come on with me, I'll give you leads, or pay me X amount of dollars, I'll give you leads. And that is the biggest misconception, is that anyone's business is based on a model wrapped around lead generation or online lead generation. I would say that's probably the biggest misconception, is that leads generate a good portion of anyone's business.
Well, so tell me this then. I mean, going after the whole lead generation thing for a second, I like that, saying it's a misconception. When we think about it, is it a sound strategy in any way, or are we finding that the bell curve has now started to not just flatten, but start to find its way down, where you've had so many people that have actually tried it, spent money investing time, dollars, effort into it, only to realize that, again, it's one of these things that are just a complete waste of time?
Well, the problem is that they've spent the time doing it, and now they've got to go back to the beginning. If anyone getting into the industry today was going to build a sound business in real estate, it doesn't matter whether or not you're 2 years in or brand new. Let's start where the core business comes from and focus on 85% of where your business is going to come from. This friends, family, repeat referral, all the rest. So when somebody comes to me and says, Eryn, how do I generate these online leads? I said, well, how many people are on your database? How many relationships have you built? Bring me that list. And I said, so how many people are on it? And they're always like, well, I don't really have one. A lot of them are saying that. And the second, well, maybe about 100. I said, well, if you don't know that number, 100% that number, is it 87? Is it 89 people on your? If you don't know that number, I know you're not ready for online leads, because you haven't built out the foundational program that when you build the relationship, you filter them through the funnel of putting them into a system that you keep in touch with your people. I always use that. I mean, you're keeping in touch with the people, building the relationships. And if foundationally you haven't set that up, you're just working uphill, and you're always going to be struggling and clawing out the next lead.
And then you've got the budgeting side of that as well, right? Like when we look at the actual cost of it all, like here, what do you hear from agents who are spending money online? I mean, you just mentioned, again, if they haven't got the contact list in check, it's probably not even the place that like they should be anywhere near. That being said, for those that that are spending it, have you heard probably more on the side of like, wow, like it just takes so much effort to convert, versus the side that's like, oh my God, it's a gold mine. I love waking up every morning and I got deals that are just sitting in my inbox?
Well, okay, so there's different types of leads, and the typical lead sources that are out that you can purchase are at quantity, right? So you just do the numbers, and again, you can Google this, you can look at the conversion numbers. Everyone's in and around the same, and different geographical areas are different. I've been doing online lead generation for 17 years. I know the numbers, and I understand the concept, and it's all about conversion, and I get it. But the problem is it takes so much time now. If you look at how much a lead costs, regardless of that, let's look at the amount of leads that need to come in order to convert. Okay, right now in the GTA, conversion is probably on average below 1% now. It used to be around 2%. More people are doing it. More people are on to all the rest of it's probably below 1%. If you're doing 1%, one in every 100 leads transact. Then you look at, okay, what's the average contact time per lead that you need to consistently follow up and convert? And that's 8. That's the average. So 8 times in order to start to on average, in order to start to have a good quality conversation with the lead. And then so that you're now at 800 contacts before you get one deal. How much time is that taking? How much effort and time?
800 contacts.
Right? So 100 leads convert to one deal 800 times. That's just to have the conversation, right?
Just to talk to people.
Yeah, just to talk to people.
Wow.
Right?
That's some serious numbers. Like that's some serious time invested right there.
Well, sure. And it's 100 per, let's say you get 100 leads per month. As soon as you start putting them into the funnel and starting to call them, 800 turns to 1,600, right? And then it just goes up month after month. Now you've got 6,000 people in your. How can you manage that properly? Really, it's a numbers game, right? So the reason why teams are successful with this is because they will hire agents on a pretty hefty split in order to do these calls, do these follow-ups, and teach you how to do it. That's great, and it's great opportunity for an agent to learn how to make those, follow-up phone calls and keep them diligent. So there's good things about it, but the question that you have to ask yourself is, what is your time worth? What are you paying yourself in order to make those phone calls and those follow-ups, right? And if you're doing it for someone else, could you be doing it for yourself? Or should you be just looking at time and looking at a better quality conversion through relationship building? I'd much rather take somebody out for a lunch and talk to them for 2 hours than to call 10 leads back, over that lunchtime, right?
And you've obviously found over the course of your time in the business so far that is a lot more worthwhile to spend 2 hours with one person at lunch, who who you've got a relationship with, and know you like you, pretty much trust you's already established, versus trying to find 10 people that are total cold leads today from online.
Right. Now, if anyone's not doing online leads and they're making a lot of money at it, typically they'll have a team underneath them doing the time wasting for you.
Yeah. See, I like the way you said that, doing the time wasting for you. And I think that's what it comes back to is looking at again. And again, as we're talking about biggest time wasters in real estate, it's that whole thing of going, is it worth my time? Here we come back to a dollar perspective as well and say, not just is it worth my time? What about the investment, the dollar investment that goes into something like that? Right. Because I think too that, I'll share a quick story. I know some of our listeners have heard this one before, but I remember speaking to a guy a number of years back, and I know I've told this story many times, but essentially, and long story short, was he spent about $2,000 a month on ads or on Facebook to have somebody else, and I'll get to that sort of generalization of like just having somebody post for you, but it was right now what I'm trying to make an example of is the concept of time versus money. His thing was he was going to spend $2,000 a month having somebody else do his Facebook because he didn't have the time. And when I said to him, at the end of the day, that's going to be $24,000 at the end of the year that you're putting out. You still got to pay the tax man on top of that. So you're trying to save yourself time, yet you are now on the hook to make another $35,000 this year. So you could pay the taxes and you could pay for the expense that you just brought on. So did you really save yourself time? Right. So, there's the concept where I feel that agents don't typically really look at the dollars involved. They don't look at the budgeting involved and the money versus the time perspective. Is probably the way I'm going with that.
Yeah, well, very simply put, I'm going to do it on my little calculator because I always do this with different numbers. And let's take $100,000. Somebody wants to make $100,000 in real estate next year, and they want to take some time off. So let's say you work 48 out of the 52 weeks. You give yourself 4 weeks holiday, 4 weeks holiday. So you're taking 100,000. You're dividing by 48 weeks. Then you're dividing it by, let's say you work 40 hours a week. We're just taking averages. Okay, so that's 52. Right. So $52 an hour is what you're paying yourself for $100,000.
I was going to ask you, how do you normally determine what you're worth per hour?
Right. So at $100,000, you're at $52 an hour. Okay. You're over $100 an hour at $200,000 and et cetera, et cetera. Right. So at $52 an hour, or let's say $200,000 salary, because let's be honest, let's just shoot a little higher. So at $200,000 that you make a year, you're at $100 an hour. And I had one of my agents going door to door, hanging up door hangers. And I said, well, why are you doing that? Well, because, I want to get out. I want to get in. Well, that's fine. If you want to get out there, get physical, get healthy, all that kind of stuff. Yep. I said, but how much are you paying yourself to do that? And she just said, what do you mean? Well, how much does it cost to go and hand deliver the flyers? And so we broke that down, and it ended up just, I could pay somebody, $100 or something like that to hand these things out. I said, well, what are you paying yourself? So we did the calculation, $100 an hour. So she was paying herself $600 where she could pay somebody else $100. Right. So instead of just hanging the door hangers, what else could you be doing with that time? Right? Taking people out for lunch, making some phone calls, booking some appointments, dropping by and popping by and giving some gifts, handwritten note cards, all the personal service stuff, the client stuff that you should be focused on building relationships. So if you focus on the relationship stuff, which is worth that time investment, and pay somebody else to do the door hangers, then she's, essentially spending a better quality time, and she will get a higher return on relationship, we call it, right? higher return on relationship because that's the time she's spending building the relationship than any door hanging that she should be paying somebody $20 an hour for or whatever they're charging these days. So
it's a great way to spin that. Let's go back over that calculation one more time, just so that everybody really was able to mark that down, because I think that's a key point right there for everybody tuned in to really figure out what are you worth per hour.
Yeah.
So you said take the income you've made, let's say in the past 12 months, take that dollar.
You can go backwards or you can go forwards, but yeah.
Okay. Or take that goal that you want to achieve this year, right? Yep. You take that, you divide that by the number of working weeks you put in.
Yeah.
And then divide that by the number of working hours per week.
A week. Yeah.
And now you've determined what you are worth per hour.
That's correct. And if you're doing anything that you can pay somebody else in order to do for a lesser amount, where you can focus your time on your clients, your relationship building, that's where you should unload.
Okay. So now we got onto that through the story that I shared. And as we were talking about running ads and whatnot, I just wanted to ask this question here. And just more for the sense, look, I'll take it here that we're saying right now, unless you've got a really big team with a lot of people that can waste time for you, probably stay away from this stuff. It's not the most effective strategy you have. With that being said, for the folks that maybe you've heard that it works for, or just even the majority of people that are doing things, are they doing it through Google? Are they doing it through Facebook? Are they doing it through both? Is there something that you're hearing might have some more effectiveness to it, or might be a bigger challenge for people?
Yeah, it's I used to do Facebook. I like the visual aspect of Facebook. I like the creative aspect of Facebook. So I tend, and you used to be able to really target on Facebook. Now they've, with privacy and all the rest, they've made changes. It's been a lot more difficult to target market audiences on Facebook. And then there's the Google side of things, which is more generic. Find homes in Newmarket, like searching for homes with pools in Newmarket, for example, as a search term, and then your website comes up. And if you have a good website with good lead capture devices on it, that allows the person to go on your website and hopefully sign up or log in or utilize the site, and then you can contact them and qualify them as a lead. So both work. And both have a different business model, right? And keep in mind, I'm not talking people out of doing some lead gen, right? In anyone's business plan, they should have three categories, really, three sources of income. And the first one's always your 85% repeat referral business, and that's got to be solid. Then you move on to the next. And it could be open houses, it could be prospecting through, an event, maybe a charitable organization you're part of, et cetera. And then the next one could be online lead generation. And then what they do is they plug into your foundational sphere of influence program. Right. So any good business plan starts with the foundations and then you plug in. So online lead gen is just a plug-in to that foundational program. So I'm not against it. The question is what are you paying for? So one of my agents decided, well, let's not go with quantity of leads. Let's go with quality. So she went with a program that it was hefty. It cost $10,000 in order to generate these leads. For the year. And it was 12 qualified, ready to go buyers and sellers, right? And all day long, I would pay that $10,000.
12 a month, 12 a year?
$10,000. And I don't know whether or not if it was over, I know she was doing it for about 6 months. So I don't know if that was divided by 6 months, monthly or whatnot.
But they said for 10,000, you can get 12 qualified. Was that's their thing?
Yep. That was their thing. And there's all different models, but this one was interesting. And I said, listen, up to you. You can definitely, you're a converter. You can convert people. So go ahead and give it a shot. If you want, as one of your lead sources, if you get a deal, maybe you get your money back. Maybe you double your money, right? So, and that's what she was kind of going with. Well, 12 qualified, ready to go leads. That sounds well. You could 12 deals. I mean, you'll be making over 100,000. The 10 times return on investment is not a bad thing, right? Spend 10, make 100. That's what she would be looking to do in this case.
You see, sorry, go ahead, finish that.
Yeah, no, and the results of the program was very much that she was disappointed in the end, right? She was
really.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, those type of leads take time to come to fruition, right? Yeah. Some programs will say it take you 6 to 8 months of consistent follow-up in order to finally get somebody to, transact with you. So, she's got the 12 leads, but she went back and forth, and of course they made promises that she could have replaced leads if these leads didn't work out, et cetera, which they refused to do and whatnot. So, she spread the news about the lead generation company that she didn't feel worked. Now, it may not work for her, may work for other people. I get it. But this one didn't work for her, and she's out 10 grand. Now, it is what it is. That was her investment. That was her, she made last year, she doubled her income by putting in the foundations. Right. She was on a coaching program last year that built up that key foundational program. She doubled her income. So she decided to take some of that income, put it aside, and then spend it on a lead source. That's what
we see it all the time with our coaching clients, right? Yeah. Where they're, a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people are out there trying to put things together without the proper maybe structure and foundation to the system and process. Mm-hmm. And we see them spending a lot of money. And so we start to adjust and we create that foundation. I say to everybody, it's like digging a hole or building a house. You don't just put, the first floor on the ground. You've got to dig the hole. You've got to put the foundation, then you build up from there. And to that effect, it's always that database, right? Because even with what you're saying now, which we know, and anybody who's tried this stuff knows, you might be paying for the stuff, but when it comes in, it's still got to, like you said, go into the system. And that system has to start to chunk through the follow-up and the touch points and everything else to help you with that conversion. So there's a cost to that system. There's a cost to generating the leads. There's a cost for your time, as we've already discussed here. Now it's what is that ROI? An example that I put out there too, I put this out in a video a few weeks ago where I had made mention that when you look at your contact list, and I suggest this on 100 people, you're about $1,500 all year to stay in touch with 100 people.
Yep.
Those are your best people. Okay. And we're using only a number of 100 right now.
And you know what the percentage I use is between 15 and 20% return on that 100. Okay. So let's say you're at the least end of the let's say you just send a nice newsletter, you talk to everybody quarterly, you send a calendar, you do your good things you do with them. Let's say you're at only 15% of return on 100 people. That's 15 deals. 15 deals, average, let's say average commission on a deal. Even if you take the least amount, right? You're still at around $300,000, right? Maybe
you're saying 300 guys. See, I'm going to go low on you. I
was going to say maybe even 200.
I'm going to say 5 deals at $20K and say $100,000.
Okay, that's low.
$1,500 investment to ROI $100,000. Follow me here.
That's still low. And what times? Like anybody would say that's the biggest return on investment.
Dude, follow this one now. Let's take it further and say this and say now. And she spent $10,000 to get 12 opportunities. $10,000 to get 12 opportunities. Watch this. $1,500. Let's say it takes us 7 to 12 years. I'm going to tell you 10 on a regular basis on that average for when people are going to come back and do repeat referral, whatever it is. I say the 10-year plan all the time, right? Have that mindset, long-term investment. So say it's 10 years at the bare minimum of 100 people at 5 deals a year, $20K each deal. What was your investment? $15,000 over a decade. Yeah. Not 1 year. What was your ROI at the low end? Not even high like what you said or even middle like what you said. I'm going low. It's $1 million. So for a $15,000 investment, we can net back $1 million as long as we just stay in touch with the right people. Now I say to anybody, scale that. Go up to 200 people. That's $30,000 investment. That's a $2 million ROI. And again, I'm still being conservative. And I get that different markets have different things going on.
Yeah.
But man, the investment when it comes to that is huge. So here, we talked about CRM. We sort of brought that up and said, you need to have the right one. In a nutshell, because there's a majillion options out there. We've got one. There's a million options out there for people, but how does an agent use it to be successful? And again, the high level of that, because we could go into the nitty gritty and spend hours talking about that. But an agent says, okay, I love my pen and paper. Like that's what I do, right? And we're like, look, you need some sort of system though to help you. And I would recommend to everybody, pen and paper is amazing. I love it. I carry it everywhere. That being said, having the access to your info in this little thing, it is crucial. And this is where we can put things in place in the background for us while we're out there working.
Yeah.
What are your sort of high levels where you say to somebody I know you love your pen and paper, but you really, you want to step it up. You go into a CRM and here's what it could do for you.
Yeah. Well, CRMs are, again, meant to be not time wasters. And whatever you do with a CRM, don't let the CRM tell you how to run your business, right? That's not what a CRM is there for. It's to manage your business, and you should be able to set up systems in there that work for you, right? So make sure it's used. You can use it effectively. And there are a couple things that I do that is specific to that is I'm not. And we'd love to say we're all organized, right? We love to say that we're going to always sit down at 9 to 10 o'clock, make our phone calls, plan our days and all the rest. But it gets crazy. And real estate agents, we run everywhere with our heads cut off, right? So what I always say, listen, set up right from the beginning something that is an engine that keeps running. You don't have to do anything. If you get sick, your energy level goes down, or you just get too busy to forget about it, set something up that the minimum is always happening. So the first thing is, I always tell in any business plan, I say, how many people do you know? Bring me their addresses. Find out where they live. If you don't know where they live, you don't know their product, first of all. So you're selling product, and if you don't know where they live, I mean, that's just a given. So give them a call, ask them for their address, let them know that you'd like to send out a nice little newsletter every month, keeping up to date with the real estate industry. I hope you could get that from you. And trust me, most people will give it to you. Okay. Yeah. And the people that won't maybe aren't the people you're going to be doing business with. They're not part of your 100. So if you can get those 100, David's right. You're going to be making minimum. I mean, you're not going to make 100. You'll be making 200. If you're only making 100, come see me. I'll put you on that better program, because you'll make more out of 100 people. You should be making 200 plus. Okay. And it's just the systems in place. So a physical newsletter reminds people every single month you're in the business. It was my number one marketing when I had my own business, my team business. Everyone went on the newsletter program, and 85% of our business was from people calling off of that newsletter. I'd forget every now and then to call people. I wasn't quite as diligent with things. That's always running in the background. Then once a quarter calls, your calendar every year. I've got an email set up with just occasional greetings. It's called, happy holidays, happy Mother's Day, Father's Day, or Canada Day, right? It's coming up. They'll send out a little Canada Day. It's a little reminder, nice little thing. And maybe some things that go out every now and then. Emails are about 30% effective. If you just do emails, you're going to do 30% of the business you want to do. You want to send that physical mailed newsletter. That was one.
And let me just remind everybody, when I said Tech Wizard, you can look him up and back check that. He loves his technology, and he's amazing with it. Yet you're hearing it here first right now. There are just certain things that you need in place to have success in real estate.
Just set that up. All the other stuff will fall in line. You'll make your phone calls. You'll bump into people. You'll go out for dinners. You'll try your note cards and handwritten cards and all this kind of stuff. You'll do different things, and coaches will get you on different programs. But if you foundationally set those systems up, you'll make a percentage return on your relationships just based on that. And then you can start adding in the other thing, and you can talk about ROI all day long. You can start a farm area and say, hey, I made 200,000 last year. I kept 10% back. That's 20 grand. I'll start a farm area. 20 grand in 2 years should be 10 times. So there's another 200,000 in a farm area for 20 grand, make you another 200. It should be 10 times in a farm area. So these are just traditional systems that are proven. What's not been proven. Yeah. So go ahead.
No. Finish that.
No, I was just going to say, I still am to this day. There's only, I don't even know if there's a handful of people, and some people are probably, listening to this and saying, Eryn, you're wrong. I made 10 deals off of my online leads last year. I've got a guy actually in my office that just does online leads. Congratulations. You're doing a great job. And he comes in every day, follow up. He's always on the phone, right? His time is with the online leads. Now, he doesn't even drive. Okay. He's a real estate agent without a license. And he was an award winner last year.
Wow.
So he was so diligent and so good at continuously following up. He made the online lead stuff work. But when we got him into a newsletter and we got him into the relationship business, that's where it started to really take off, right? So
and
now
I imagine that's kind of where award winning comes from too, in the sense where
absolutely.
Because he's doing so much heavy lifting. And I've said that's the same thing to people before. And I want to clarify that. I love what you said there. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying this stuff doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Okay, I do beg the question as to who all these random people are going to some random, ad to clicks on some random realtor when we all know people. But beyond, and I still beg the question of, like, how are there that many people out there that are going to random strangers rather than connecting with their people? That logic doesn't still click for me. But there's people making a living at it. So as long as you got the bankroll and the effort, you can do it. But you also got to keep in mind that it is, no matter what, it is and always will be a relationship business. And at some point in life, when we do get a little bit, older, maybe a little bit more tired, not as much energy, do you still want to be running at that pace, or do you want the business to just start to kind of flow? And if you do, it comes back to those systems.
Yeah. And again, I know we keep knocking the online lead stuff, but there's other components to online leads that you just, I've seen it because I know the ones that are doing online leads as a lead source, and it's great. Those quality of clients will run you around because they do not respect your time. And you could, listen, you can have the great personality, you can convert, and you can make sure that they are not wasting your time. But in general, it's a lot harder when you're dealing with people that don't know you as a person, and they're like, yeah, show me houses, and then show me more houses, show me more houses. And, if you're not qualifying them properly and you're really not going through the process, I see a lot of people running around with online leads saying that work. I'm showing houses. I'm like, well, how many? And they end up being, to be honest with you, the worst clients in the world because they just don't respect you. They don't respect your time. They think that they're your glorified Uber, just driving around showing them properties. So they're also
there's zero relationship.
Zero. Now, again, back to the relationship stuff. If you can take that, convert that into a relationship, it's different. If you're good at that. But then if you're that good, why aren't you spending the time with your sphere of influence and converting those people and getting repeat referral stuff, right? That's the time you want to spend.
Okay, so here, talking about time we want to spend, talking about CRM, talking about putting, having some marketing in the background, running that CRM, the fact that we've got to have our database in that CRM. And I said right off the top, there's 3 pillars to CRM. There was the contact list, which we mentioned, the importance of having that in there, which I also want to make sure, and we clarify too, that for anybody that's out there that is, working on leads or whatever it be, we always got to keep budget in mind, right? Money is huge. And that's why we said, figure out what you're worth per hour. We gave that calculation. But to that, also recognizing that, when you look at the money aspect, the marketing channels cost money, but so do the systems in the background. And so everything needs to be budgeted for. So now as we look at the system, we say, okay, contact list, we look at marketing. My 3rd pillar of a CRM is about that whole thing around scheduling and time. And I guess I would ask the question and say, we've been preaching use CRM for a long time, right? We've been putting it out there to people, use the CRM. Why are realtors typically always late? Like, what's your take on the importance of like this concept around time management? Wow. And I know I put an umbrella over the entire industry right there, but I can laugh about it. We can all laugh about it. Realtor time versus real time. It is just what it is.
I would hope that realtors aren't late to the important things like listing appointments and your buyer is out, at a property and you meet in there on time. I would hope that they're on time for those things. And maybe it's the other things that they show up late for, like training. And, it's always you got to wait an extra 5 minutes for the rest of the agents to come in. It's usually because they are running around with the head. They're not organized, right? They're not time blocking effectively. They're not leaving themselves a little bit of space in between, appointments, right? So it is about time management. And I use my phone. I mean, you talk about different CRMs. You have one that you use every day. Everybody has a CRM they use every day, and that's your phone. All your contacts are in there. Your phone number's in there. It's organized. You can set dates and times and reminders with your calendar. So your phone is the first CRM you'll ever use. Now, does it do automation? Is it specific to real estate? Does it send out good, content? Can you get your newsletter sent out for those are the other things you're going to need a second CRM for. And then that CRM may just be your newsletter CRM. You could have another CRM for birthday cards, or for online lead generation could be a CRM and follow up. Like when I was running my business, I think I had 4, active CRMs at any given time doing different things. Right. I don't think there is a magic bullet in this industry in terms of one CRM. I think there's good things with each of them. But you should at least have 2, right? Your phone and then something else that does some good automated systems that are quality. And listen, David, I've known your system for the kit system for many, many years, and I've used it. And it's by far, when you're talking about quality, I mean, you want to impress your clients with the different variations on newsletter. I mean, I was super impressed, and I always have been. And that is a great product, right? So there you go. There is your 15%. Now you're going to need to call them every now and then. You're going to need to do certain things. Right. But if you're going to spend extra time, you said 1,500, right?
Yeah. We're saying, like, and I'll tell you again, based on our system, $15 a head to stay in touch all year.
Yeah. So let's say it's 1,500, and it doesn't matter. What I would say is, okay, so you've got 1,500 making, you said a minimum 100,000. I'm going to say 200,000 because I think that's reality. Oh, yeah, so $200,000. Well, why not spend 5,000? And go, oh yeah, I'll spend 5,000 for 200,000. Okay, so up the game, right? Start doing gifts, start doing pop buys, and with with your CRM, you can just print your list and say, okay, here's my addresses. I'm going to start crossing them off. Everyone gets a pumpkin, and everyone gets whatever it is. And I used to do that. I mean, 2 pop buys every year, 2 events every year for customer appreciation, that sort of stuff. These are the things that you spend your time and money on. And at the end of the year, look back and you spend $5,000-$6,000. Big deal. You make $200,000, right? And it's just the best foundational systems out there for sure.
So as we continue to talk about marketing for a second, I hit on a few different things. You've already sort of preached about sending a newsletter, and I absolutely love it. Obviously, it's got kind of like a more personal thing on my end when I say that, sure. But outside of that, there's a reason for it. And I think people look at that as an old school tactic. And I think that people say, oh, people don't want to get it, I'm not going to send it to them. And I tell people, like, it's not about whether they want it. It's about whether you want their business, right? If you want to keep building the mind share and be present with them. It's the same thing like here. So we talk to newsletters, social media. What about time being spent on social media? We talk about, and as we talk about biggest time wasters in real estate, right? We know that people are spending on average 3 hours a day scrolling social media. Okay. That's a lot of time. And I don't think people track that time. I think if people put that in their schedule, they go, oh my God, like way too much. So there's a realization that needs to be had there. But we look at a marketing tactic of social, and we look at, versus, let's say, sending a newsletter, and people having this misconception that people may not want the newsletter. They might just throw it out. Much the same with social. I can actually scroll past your social quicker than I can throw your newsletter or delete your newsletter. I can also, when I go to social media, I'm not going there looking for the most important piece of information I've ever seen. I'm probably there just out of habit. So it's much the same. Be present, show up. Mm-hmm. But what's your take on the effectiveness of the way agents use social media, maybe the time they spend on social media? And again, do we see this as a big time waster? Are most people spending time with it, or do you think people are effective with it? What's your thoughts?
No, listen, there's a lot of agents that I don't know. Like, they'll come into the office, they'll pop open their computers, spend a lot of time on social media. They'll come out to training. They'll do the different things that they think that they're at work, right? They think that they put in an 8 hour day. The question is who did you meet, right? Like, did you meet anybody new today? Did you talk to anybody about real estate today? Have you had a good conversation and built a relationship today? What have you done in that area? And if you haven't done any of that, then you're wasting your time. Absolutely. Social's there. You're going to do it. Now, if you do it effectively, there's some really creative ways that moving forward, I see let's say the future of online lead gen in general. Okay, the future of online leads. Somebody really wants to start to do an online lead strategy. It should be in a way to be an influencer. Okay, so we see influencers all the time, and when I say see, you literally see them. Influencers have to be seen. You have to be on video. You have to be doing something like a podcast or an informative video, whether it be about the market. They have to see you. And just like I think I know Tom Hanks. I think Tom Hanks. I know him. If I saw him, I'd go up and shake his hand. Tom, I've seen all your movies. It's like, I know Tom Hanks. Why? Because I've seen him all these years. Well, if you start to give great information and you're professional, you're on video, and people start to engage with you through online leads and social, because you have done let's say a first-time home buyer seminar. Let's get into homes and have that seminar, and people come and they join and they sign up for your program. That's online lead gen. Now they know you. It's a soft.
That's organic online lead gen. It took you a little bit of time, but it was probably the most effective way because you were very 100%. Real. You got seen. You didn't pay for it.
100%. And they already know you, right? They think they know you. You haven't met them. You don't know them, but they know you. And I've had this. I do a lot of training and I have a training channel and all the rest of it, and a lot of my agents too. Some of them I haven't met, right? Some of them are at offices that I haven't stopped in. I haven't seen them in the office. They're, we have 700 agents. I haven't met every single one of them. But I'd like to, but they've met me. They've seen all my training. They come up to me, oh, Eryn, it's, I'm like, hi, what's your name again? And I feel horrible, but they're like, don't worry. I've seen all your videos. They're talking to me like I'm their friend. Now, that's what I do to engage with my agents and provide good value. What you should do as an agent is do the same thing, but do it within your community. Do it within your groups, the influencers you'll have with the different groups that you'll join. And you can do that through video. It takes a little bit of time, effort, and we'll tell just you've got to be brave. You've got to start doing it. That's all. And but as soon as you talk with that passion, that the informative nature, people will start to gravitate towards you. And it's like, yeah, listen, Eryn, I'd love to have you help me buy a house. Right. So that's the future and online with social. But if you're not doing that and all you're doing is going around and commenting and liking things, yeah, that's wasted time. Right. I mean, it's okay that some other people that you've done business with sees that you like the fact that they went to or their kid won a baseball tournament this weekend. That's great. But unless you engage, right, and they start to see you, I don't know if it's going to be the best, use of your time.
Well, I like that, though, to make proper use of time on social. And we do think that engaging is an important thing. People also need to see you. And I love that point, though. It's crucial that they actually get that sense, and I've said this to everybody. The past past 24 months or so has forced us on video, so and I mean, some of us have been doing video a lot longer, but for people that were not as comfortable, everybody got forced into it. So it's almost you're like, it broke the ice for you to go, hey, don't worry. Everybody's tripping over themselves right now. Jump in and get wet, because you know what? You're going to come out, and you're going to come out where people are going to know who you are. Again, it's one of those days that, well, hey, we're building a lot of mind share. As a marketing tactic, you also talked about the importance of getting together with people and doing the lunches. And why do people believe it's such a time waster for them to, one, enter data into a database, and two, make the phone calls that they so badly need to make? Why don't we look at that as like the most income producing activity we need?
It's just I think in general, we're kind of scared to make those calls, I guess. It's almost like I don't know why they think that would be a waste of time, because that is bottom line. Your relationship, you need to be organized. You need to go through your list to make sure that your notes are made. Like if I'm going to make some phone calls today, and I'm going to call some of my past clients and touch base with them, don't I want to remind myself in 3 months when I talk to them again that their son Billy was taking an entrance exam into a college or university, so I can bring that up and say, so did Billy get in?
Why would you bring that up? Why?
Because it shows I care. It's about caring, right?
Thank you. So you need to take the notes, because there's no way if you don't take the notes, you don't remember Billy's going to university.
You forget. And anybody who knows me knows, if it's not in my schedule, if I don't make the note, I got so many things on the go, and so do you. Everyone has so many things happening. The relationships, but listen, I'm not going to say I'm the best at it. I know there's my partner with Richard. I worked with Richard for 10 years. He was the guy I built the team with. And when I was selling, he knew what I had for dinner last night every day. He's like, Eryn, so what do you have for dinner last? Oh, roast beef. Yeah, that's great. And I'd answer him roast beef. And I'm like, oh, by the way, are you going to that showing tomorrow night? I'd get right to business, right? Yeah. And I'd always have to remind myself, he helped me become a better agent because he was so relationship focused, right? So you like to surround yourself with people like that. That care, that show they care, and it came natural to him, right? So those are important relationships.
Tell me this. What are some non-negotiables, and maybe we just labeled a lot of them off today, but that an agent needs to be focused on in order to spend their time wisely, so that they can have success? I mean, maybe some of the most effective strategies, the non-negotiables. I mean, just that we're not wasting time, and we're getting ourselves to that place that we want to get to. I mean, again, we might have just gone through that over this past hour.
No, and we did. And we talked a lot about it, right? This organization, its systems in place and all that kind of stuff. My non-negotiables. Okay. The first thing that anybody comes and does is they could say, hey, business is down. What do I do? Hey, what about online lead gen? Should I do that? I got an open house this week. Whatever it is, the question I ask them, what's your number? Your non-negotiables. You got to tell me where your relationships are at. Because if you're not focused on, so you first thing I say, bring me the list of people that you know. And with addresses into it, and I tell them to put it into the CRM system. As soon as I see that, and I know that it's organized, I want you to start categorizing them. I want you to start making notes. Those are non-negotiables for any coaching program that I do with my agents, right? Non-negotiable. I can't talk about your business unless I know where your business is at. Then I know the percentage. I know those 80 people are going to give you 12 deals next year, which is worth about $150,000 to $200,000 worth of business. What did you do last year? $180,000. Well, there you go. That's the reason why you have great relationship with 80 people. I mean, you just verified the fact that your 80 people you obviously contact. Oh yeah, I had this, that. So, okay, now where do you want to go with this? Well, I want to double my income. Okay, now you're making that. Did you put any money aside? So I go on to the next things, but my non-negotiable is to ask that question. Where is your sphere of influence? What's your number? Is it into a system? Are you sending the note? That's the first non-negotiable.
We're totally in line. I spin it a little bit differently. I tell everybody, like, if you don't have a contact list before you brush your teeth tonight, make sure you do that. One of my other ones is exactly to say, again, we're very much in line, man. What's your budget, right? Like, what kind of money have you got to be able to put towards stuff? And It's not about taking it all and putting it in one basket, but it's about understanding what you have and doing that in a realistic way, as opposed to depending if it works and throwing something at the wall to see if it sticks. And in the day, 30, 60, 90 days later, you go, it didn't work. I got to try someone else. That's not strategy.
And then the next non-negotiable is show me what you're using today in order to book your apappointments. How are you organizing yourself?
Schedule.
Well, I'm not using anything. I literally had somebody not use that. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, well, how do you know that you're meeting with me next Tuesday at 2:00? How do you know that? And they're like, I think you're going to remind me, right? I was, no.
That's what I said to people. How did you know to be here today? Well, the office sent me an email. No. But it's interesting because we just boiled this down to, again, the why CRM question. We talked about the contact list, right? You spun it and know your numbers, and I'm kind of doing that in the same way, going like, know your budgeting, know your marketing, and then we come back to scheduling. Right there. It is.
So those are non-negotiables. Those are things that run a business. Everything else is now how do I do a better job? How do I re-engage? How do I, and that's the fun part, but I can't do the fun part until the foundation's built. Fun part is like, let's try this, right? How are you with open houses? What have you been doing? Let's take this, and all the rest of it. So you can always add into it, but the non-negotiable, you can't be on a coaching program, a mentorship program. You can't be doing business effectively unless those things are done.
And that's how you have more success.
Sure. Absolutely.
So and
it's not even success. Success could be in quality of life. And as you know,
absolutely. Well, I was going to ask you that.
Yeah.
How do you know it's been a successful day for you?
You're at home, you're with the kids, you're laying back going, everything's looked after. I'm not thinking in my head, what did I not do? What have I not done? It's that. And we all know if you're a busy agent, and here's another one. I've been talking to this agent for years. He does amazing business. He is so good at relationships, and he has he is almost six-figure income. He's almost $1 million producer without a CRM, without a newsletter program, without anything other than a phone and his personality. The guy is
he's an old school guy. Then he hustles, right?
He goes, but Eryn, every year I can't hire an assistant. I would have to pay her and she would rely on me to make money. And I can't do that to somebody and have them rely on my business in order to pay them. Like, he's just worried about somebody else's income that he's going to be paying for. I said, I can't make that commitment. So I'm trying to get him to do this, right? And he's on board. We got it going. But he says every year, Eryn, I worry because I don't know where the next deal's coming from. There's no system set up. If I don't continue making these phone calls, I'm not making any money. And I get it. So we can make it easier for you.
That was my point before about constantly working in a transactional mindset. At some point, as we get older and the energy's not there, where do we want to be? Right. And that's why we again, both of us are preaching, set up your systems, right? That's how we're not going to waste time.
I said six-figure income. I really meant 7, didn't I? She said,
well, absolutely. But again, and the sky's the limit.
It's $1 million. I'm doing the numbers here. Yeah, no, it's no longer.
Yeah, no, but even regard, I get. For what he was doing, though, imagine a guy like that puts a system in place.
Oh my gosh!
Oh my God, the amount of money, eh?
Yeah, but he's old school, and that's okay. It's okay, but what's not okay is he's worried. He
fine, but real estate is an eat what you kill business, and you know what? The reality is, most people do wake up worried every single day. Where's that next deal coming from? There's that little bit of that thing when you're in real estate. You start to get there. However, we know that when your systems are set up, and we talked a lot about them today, you won't worry as much. In fact, you can actually limit the worry altogether because you just know through the longevity and the effectiveness of what you've been doing, it's going to work. And whether it's there today or it comes tomorrow or even next week, it's coming. I know it's coming because I'm doing the right things.
That's right.
Final words, tips, anything that you can share with everybody that's tuned in just to help them get out there, build more mind share, get more market share, and of course, do the best they possibly can with time so they're not wasting time.
Market shifting. So you have to shift with it. I think that's the biggest change and shift that everyone's going to have to go through. So a big tip right now, for those of you that are relationship built and you're there calling people, that's great. Continue to do that. Basically right now, the transactions are cut in half. We're doing about half as much business as we were a year ago. So you're going to have to try twice as hard in order to get the same results. So hopefully those systems are in place. Right. But always remember to go back and look at the quality of listing presentation, what you do for a listing. In the past, because of the shift, it was pretty much how am I going to set up a multiple offer scenario in order to maximize the price of a house for somebody? That's what was the conversation. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, oh, by the way, I'm going to get on this website, I'm going to get there, and I'm going to do a virtual tour or drone for any of that sort of stuff. But we're back to that staging. Utilize the systems that are out there to provide a fantastic customer experience. We got to get back to that face-to-face. Get out of the home office, we'll call it. Get out of the home office, come into the office, or get out to people's homes and start to re-engage with people because, the market's shifting and they are going to want the in-person. They're going to want the in-person negotiation. They're going to want the in-person listing presentation. Get off of Authenticign, okay? Get to the home and have a pen to paper. Okay, I love technology. Don't get me wrong.
I got you. I love
when you're stuck up at the cottage on the weekend and you need that waiver signed. I get it. Send the waiver, let them know. All the rest of it, technology is there to get you out of a jam, but don't put it in place in order so you're going to minimize the amount of face-to-face interaction. Let's get back to that face-to-face.
Well said, my man. Very well said. I love this conversation. Eryn, where can people find you if anybody wants to tap into you anymore? If anybody still wants to find out what you guys are up to at C21 Heritage, where can people connect with you?
Homesbyheritage.ca. It's our website. We've got a join us link, videos on there. My YouTube channel, Centur 21 Heritage Group Training. We have over 250 videos on there. At this point, 101.3 I think is K subscribers, and we want to get up to that 2,000 subscriber mark. So help us out there. Subscribe to the channel. It's great information.
Beautiful. Amazing. Well, I encourage everybody, tap into this guy, follow him, connect with him. Just a brilliant mind, Eryn. I always enjoy the conversations together. There's a lot of marketing strategy talk, and so it's right up my alley for sure. But I thank you sincerely for making the time to join us today here on the Mindshare podcast.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
Thank you, pal. You're either listening to this on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or Spotify. Or maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. And while you're on my site, make sure to download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle for Realtors. This is a 31-page ebook packed with a ton of tips and tricks for you. Plus, there's a ready-to-go 90-day social media content counter to help you build more mindshare so that you can get more market share. And if you want to talk about personalized one-to-one coaching to help you get to your next level, just get in touch with me. We'll set up a free consultation call, learn more about what you're looking to achieve and how we will help you do just that. Also, don't forget that our push to 100 is on. All you have to do, super easy, is go to ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. I would be so grateful if you check that out right now. And of course, if we haven't yet, connect with me on Facebook at Mindshare101 and on Instagram at David Greenspan 101. I want to thank Virginia Munden and the Buzz Conference for sponsoring today's episode. Be sure to visit their site, www.thebuzzconference.com, and follow them on Instagram at The Buzz Conference. preference to keep tabs on all of the awesome events they are always hosting, along with getting the latest copy of the Buzz Digital Magazine. Also, don't forget about their June 24th event, which is coming up fast, as well as to reserve the date for September 7th to 8th for Disruption 2022. And of course, I want to thank Kids Keep in Touch Systems for sponsoring today's episode. If you haven't checked this out yet, just go to my site, mindshow101.com, and click on Marketing. This has been another episode of the Mindshare Podcast. Thank you for tuning in.